Hey everybody, it's HappySoCurly, and today I'm going to be starting a new segment of my channel, and it'll be discussing the zodiac signs in detail, of course, for those of us that are not so familiar with each sign and kind of get confused about what it means or how it relates. And I just want to say before I start that you shouldn't judge someone just by their zodiac sign. Me personally, I am a spiritual person, but at the same time, I prefer to like people based off of what they do, not so much of who they are. And of course you do click with certain people a different way, and you should always be aware of those things. But like I said, it kind of just doesn't determine who someone really is, because there's bad people in the world and there's good people in the world. But that doesn't necessarily mean that because they are a Libra or because they are a Capricorn, that means that they're a bad or good person. So just keep that in mind as you listen to these videos and go, I guess, and determine each segment and everything. So without further ado, let's get started. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac calendar. It's represented by the ram, which honestly, if you've ever been around a ram or read stories of a ram, it's a perfect example of the Aries sign. As far as what element it belongs on the calendar, you have fire, earth, air, and water in that order. And the element that Aries represents is, of course, fire. And people with the fire sign are usually the most energetic, so that means that Aries is really compatible with Libra and Leo, which are also fire signs. It's also a cardinal sign, and cardinal signs typically just start out the season, or start out the season of the calendar, not just the zodiac calendar, but like the calendar in general. I think it's Aries. Let's see, Aries. I think Cancer. Might be wrong. No, not Cancer. Hold on. Let's see. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. Oh well, I'm not really sure anymore. But I think Aries and Capricorn are one of them. So cardinal signs usually are 3. Oh yeah, that is right. So it's the Aries, Cancer. I think it's whatever one's after that one that's like in the 3 category. And then Capricorn. And that's just what cardinal means. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best one because they start out the season. There's different types of quality signs. So that's just what it is. And Aries is also represented by the color red, and is also represented by the planet Mars. Its greatest, or like overall, I guess, comparison to Mars is that Mars is red and has something to do, I guess, with the, you know, Mars is first, or no, it's not actually Mercury is, but at the same time, it's a red planet, and we talk so highly of Mars. And one thing about Aries is that, you know, first is always best. Okay. Its overall compatibility is with, of course, Libra and Leo, like I said before, which is the fire signs. And the date range, I always get confused because I always see different types of date ranges, but it should be from March 21st through April 19th. Some people might say March 20th to 21st, or even March 19th to the 22nd, which is, I feel like that one's definitely wrong, but typically the one that I see the most is March 21st to April 19th. Okay, now that we got the basics out the way, let's get down to the part that we all kind of want to know and often get confused with, especially when we're dealing with, you know, asking people their birthdays and trying to figure out like what they might or might not be or represent as qualitative characters. So let's start with the positives and strengths. Well, actually, no. Let's start with the weaknesses. Let's get the bad things out the way. So, a lot of people are concerned with Aries being very impatient, very moody, short-tempered, impulsive, and just like aggressive. So, when you, I guess, typically, if you were to meet an Aries, one thing you would be concerned about is trying not to offend them, or just being overall aware of their emotions. And ultimately, you don't have to take anybody like cursing you out or calling you names or getting mad at you, but it's always good to know this stuff to understand and figure out how to deal with certain people. Which is why I'm doing this in the first place, because I want you to be able to have knowledge of yourself and have knowledge of others. And my channel is all about self-awareness and health. So that's one of the many things about Aries, is the aggressiveness, the moodiness, the short temper especially. And now let's go on to the strengths and positives, of course. So Aries are very courageous and determined, confident and brave, just the risk taker of all the zodiac signs. So if you want to, you know, are afraid of getting something done, or feel as though you don't feel safe doing something by yourself, the Aries is one of the biggest risk takers and one of the biggest people that will be brave enough to do that with you, or even for you, depending on, like, I guess, how you relate. The Aries is also enthusiastic and optimistic, honest, really honest. The ones I've met I don't think they've been very dishonest, and passionate, if anything. So just all around a great personality. I mean, all the zodiac signs have great personalities. I wouldn't think that one sign is like just horrible. But those are pretty much the strengths and positives. And now let's go on to the things that most Aries would like. So Aries like comfortable clothes and taking on like really big roles, like leadership roles. They love like physical challenges or just challenges in general. And so these are like usually our athletes and all this stuff, but that's not necessarily true. But that's usually the quality that they have. Now, things that Aries don't like in their lives, not just people, but like in lives, is inactivity, delays, work that does not like kind of like doesn't use their talent or doesn't work with what they work with. And this is not to say that the Aries is not lazy, because the Aries can be lazy. It's just the Aries doesn't like to be lazy. Like when they're lazy, they get depressed because they are lazy. They don't get depressed because of something else. It's usually because they cannot get out of what they are in, and that's what makes them uncomfortable. Okay. So I guess we should talk a bit more about the signs' presence, but usually it's always like first and energetic and very social. But kind of like Sagittarius, the optimism and the honesty kind of gets in the way to where they come off very mean or very I guess haughty, maybe even just like Leo as well. Like the Aries really shares, because it is the first one. The Aries really has the main qualities of Leos and Sagittarius, while the Leos and Sagittarius kind of like have the partial qualities of an Aries. So when it comes to relationships, typically Aries are very loving and very compassionate. And because they are so honest, the relationship seems to take in a good turn. But that's only, of course, if you like who that person is. But they'll try to be themselves as much as possible. But also because they are good, they're competitive, they won't mind changing something to please others. But at the end of the day, it still makes them uncomfortable, so they can't do that for a while. And I think that's what makes the whole stereotype that Aries aren't good for like relationships and stuff. But I think the problem is that certain people might not like the total honest person that they're with. And because Aries is, competitive and wants to be able to please the world and just be the number one person in everything, they change themselves in that relationship. But then it ends up being an uncomfortable position, and then that's when they start to, be bad and not be happy, and then the relationship falls thin. So I would say just try to accept the Aries for who they are, and don't feel as though, or don't be so open about what you don't like about them. I would say try to ease your way into that, but just don't expect them to change. I'm an Aries myself, so I'm very familiar with this sign and familiar with the things that go into it. And you just have to just learn to love who they are. And the Aries also has to learn to control themselves and just to understand that being number one is not always going to happen. And that happens to me a lot. Like, I do get a little bit carried away. But as an independent sign, it's always hard to figure things like that out on your own. So I just wanted to share this for anybody who's in relationship with an Aries or a friendship with an Aries. This video is just to explain those things and explain why the Aries is this way. Hopefully, if you're like stuck in the mud with someone who is an Aries and these traits and qualities, not all of them, but some of them relate, then this video will help you to bond and be closer with the Aries. Okay, so for the next maybe 3 minutes, I'll just be whispering some positive words about the Aries in each year. And I thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully about the Taurus, if